spoke to Doug earlier about this, and he said it's de minimis issue, and we could just update that in the final version. And that's under Section 2, Commercial Zoning Districts. Let's see, C2A5, it references perpendicularly or suspended attached signs. 11017B2 it references as a code reference in there. It should be B1.
What about the feather sign?
The ordinance, it had, the draft ordinance that we prepared, it says it needs to be, it's not defined in the code. Frankly, most of the signs aren't defined in the code as they are.
As a definition?
As a definition.
That's what they're requesting?
Yeah, we have put in here, let's see, where did it go? It was under exemptions, if I remember correctly, 5 on page 2. Any quote unquote feather flag type banners are permitted but exempt from the other sign area limits as long as said quote unquote feather flag signs do not exceed 1 per business per street frontage that it is advertising.
So, so are you suggesting that we not take their recommendations and change the sign ordinance, even though we got the sign ordinance from them originally?
I'm suggesting we update the one thing that does need correction,
Just the last
reference to 1 to 2, and adopt it as submitted.
I mean, somebody took a lot of time from the Joint Land Use Board to give us these recommended changes.
Right, and Fern and I spent a lot of time going through them, and
I know you
Yeah,
did.
and it
I understand that. I just wonder if we shouldn't continue this hearing to incorporate those changes in our sign ordinance, since someone from the Joint Land Use Board took the time to even do a better job at submitting it. I don't know. I just think that we should take their recommendations and change our ordinance to include them. Even though the ordinance we approved was language from them, they took the time to reread it, to make some changes, and I appreciate the people on the board, and when they make a recommendation like this, I think we should take it into consideration and amend the ordinance to their recommendes.
I agree with
They're
that.
recommending to go back to what we already had in the ordinance, which, it's saying that it's provisions which the board and its professional consultants, but the problem is that was their professional consultants to begin with. So
I don't know. That's my feeling on it.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
I'm not going to argue with you.
There seem to be too many conflicts here, and too many, conflicts within as it's written right now. And I don't think this is ready for prime time yet.
Yeah.
Which conflicts?
Well, back in what you were referencing there, that C, let me back up here. C2-5, the bottom of the perpendicular or suspended attached signs, bottom of the sign height shall be at least 7 feet above grade. Well, B2 says it has to be 9 feet above grade. So,
But it's B1 though, they're looking at the wrong section. B1, it's referencing the size of the sign, which is 10 square feet.
right.
They're not reading it correctly.
No, it's in paragraph 2 there, that the height of it should be 9 feet above finished grade. And that paragraph in section C5 says 7 feet above grade.
C5, it says at least 7 feet above grade, and the top shall not exceed 9 feet above grade.
So it's 2 feet.
So the bottom is 7 and the top is 9?
Right.
So
So
you have a 2 foot,
2-foot sign.
a 2 foot sign is what it's saying?
That's the most you could have, depending on what the square footage is. It could be less than that too. We're just saying you can't exceed 9 feet and you can't be less than 7 foot.
But the other, in B2, signs that projects over a driveway shall be at least 14 feet above finished grade, and if it projects over a sidewalk shall be at least 9 feet above finished grade. So that doesn't, we're telling them in one part at 7, the other's part at 9.
For perpendicular signs.
No, if it's hanging over, projects over a sidewalk. And on the feather signs, yeah, definition would help, but I would also like to, I think only think they should be displayed during business operating hours.
Yeah, I agree with that. I thought we had discussed that.
It kind of looks like a used car lot with all these signs out 24/7.
That's a fair comment. It would have been nice when we requested comments 2 months ago that that was given to us so we could incorporate it before it went to the joint
Oh, I
land use
thought
board.
we discussed that prior to you guys taking it back. I thought that was a recommendation that'd be during business hours.
No, not at
I do
all.
recall that. I'm sorry if I didn't send it in again, but I thought we took that into consideration. We discussed it, maybe it was informally.
So they'll have to go out every day and take their signs in.
Yeah, I don't think those signs should be out all the time if they're not, because they get weathered and they get beat up, and this way they'll be maintained. I just,
What, our code enforcement doesn't go out at night, so how are we gonna cite them then?
Well, there's a thing that,
well, I think,
we don't expect code enforcement or police to, write every ticket for someone, rolling through a stop sign. There's, there are rules for a society to follow, and that's what you do, period.
Yeah, I don't think I'm looking at this as to code enforcement. I'm looking at to, if a business has a sign out, like let's just say Pied Out Coffee. Well, there's some days they aren't even open. So why should that feather sign be out? I mean, I think it's just a courtesy to the neighborhood.
I mean, what if it wasn't a feather sign, just a regular monument sign? It would be no different, really.
Oh, I think there's a big difference in a feather sign to a monument sign. A feather sign just, it's not as,
Is there a safety issue with the
Structured.
signage that is the problem?
no, I just thought we discussed that, and maybe that was something I did informally with Carolyn or Matt, I don't know, but maybe I should have put it in writing.
So you're just saying like aesthetically?
Yeah, they just don't, look right through some towns where they have them day and night. They're all,
I mean,
they're beat up, they're there all the time, and of course, we have a couple that are starting to put them out, and I think it's nice, they can advertise their business, but if their business isn't open, why should they have it out there? That, to me, is saying, come here, I'm open. I'm sorry.
Not when the business hours are closed, though, I guess.
Pardon?
I guess not when the business hours are closed.
I'm sorry.
Not when the business is closed. If it's
Exactly.
10
Only
o'clock,
when they're
I mean,
open, they should have that feather flag
But
out.
not necessarily, because someone could still drive by and see that there's a level of service being offered that they know tomorrow I
Well,
can
that's your
maybe stop.
opinion. I'm expressing mine.
But-
And, you don't have to act on it, I'm just telling you, I thought that that's what we were gonna do, business hours. Actually, I remember someone telling one of the businesses, just put them out, just make sure you take them in when you're closing business.
yeah, because a lot of these businesses have had them out for,
So that was,
Months.
that
Years
to
already.
me, that to me was my understanding, that we were gonna include that, but,
The storage place on Creek Road has them out there.
yeah, those
Yeah.
are things
I
since
can't
they opened
imagine-
almost.
Yeah, I can't imagine they're gonna go out at night and take them down, but we can put them in.
it's up to you. I just made a suggestion, and I
If we do
just
the
think that,
operating, to my recollection, those things just sit on a pole in the ground.
Yeah,
right?
like
So
a
they
little
leave the
stake.
base and then they just,
Either that or they pulled the whole base out. It's just one, I think it's just one piece,
uh,
if I remember correctly. I could
yeah, I'm
be
pretty
wrong. I
sure it
haven't
is. Yeah, it looks like it's
I
just one
haven't-
piece.
Gone out there and
mhm.
tested them.
The feather sign?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's like you put a stake in the ground and then you put it inside of that, twist it.
Yeah.
a lot lots.
It's a, you know,
It's not a difficult task
no, it's not.
to take it in at the end of the day, or put it out in the morning.
Right.
So if we revise this, does this need to go back to the joint land use for another consistency review?
Major changes.
If we adopt the changes they made or we don't adopt, does it have to go back?
You have three options. You can adopt as is tonight, and then amend, come back with another ordinance to incorporate, to amend and incorporate the changes that you want to make, just like you're doing with the Hawk Island resolution. You
Okay.
adopted it, now you have more things you want to add or change as a separate resolution to amend that. You could let this, just die, not adopt it, and come back with a whole new ordinance incorporating those things that you already have and the new things that you want to add. You could amend this tonight. These are substantive changes, so you couldn't adopt tonight. They would have to be republished and go back to the land use board that, with the changes that you want to make tonight would they be consistent? Either way, whatever option you choose, they have to go back to the board because you're adding new substantive language that they have to look at it from a master plan. This was deemed consistent with the master plan with recommendations. But any changes you would make that are substantive, not just clarification or, a typo change or things like that, does have to go back to the board for an additional master plan consistency review. So that's where you're at.
So other than
Yeah.
The feather signs, the temporary signs of we went from the 10-foot setbacks to a 7-foot setback from the edge of the pavement.
And the breaking down the residential versus commercial as they recommended, now going back to
Does that
just
make a bunch
one.
of people pre-existing non-conforming if you do that? Change it from 7 to 10?
Well, that's just temporary real estate signs.
Okay, so then no. That's
It
the only
should.
thing that's 7 to 10 is temporary real estate signs?
But no, we changed a lot of stuff to 7.
Well, that's what I'm saying, are you gonna put people in non-conforming status stuff?
They only called it out on the temporary signs. We have the 7-foot in a bunch of different sections in here. We tried to do that to be consistent throughout. So a real estate sign is, let's just say a real estate sign is 10-foot, and the mechanic artisan foot would be 7-foot, so there's one consistent standard of, if it's a sign, it's 7-foot back. That's exactly what we tried to do,
Which put it 7 feet from the street or the curb
from the curb.
versus 10 feet from the curb.
I think 7's fine.
It's
Yeah, I do
because
too.
their reasoning is, it's safer to use the 10-foot setback to ensure the signs are out of the right-of-way, but in some cases, it still wouldn't be even at 10-foot, because some right-of-ways on some roads are 60-foot wide, but they're only open, let's just call it 40-foot wide, or depending on what street we're on, or even narrower.
And again, these are temporary signs that have,
Right.
I guess, life expectancies of,
Yeah, I mean, if you're putting a real estate sign 10 feet, it's like halfway in the lawn of some people's
Yeah.
houses. I
You
mean,
can't-
You're not gonna be able to see it. or
can't
anything.
see it.
Doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
7 feet, at least it's pretty close to the sidewalk, that's 4 feet. The curb line's what, 2 feet, so a foot off the sidewalk.
And they don't understand why we're splitting the residential versus commercial, besides the fact that it was in their recommendation, the commercial ones allow for a larger sign size. Those were, somewhere in here. The residential, I think, was just a regular 2x3. Where is it? Residential is 5 square foot, commercial industrial is 16 square foot, so a 4x4 versus a 18-inch by 24. Kind of like the one out here in front of the 780.
I think that clarifies, our position on the difference between residential and commercial. just, leave it the way we have it.
So leave it the way
Split.
leave it the way we submitted it without their
Submitted,
recommendations?
Uh,
They-
It definitely, there's, because if you bundle everything together, the residential and the commercial, then the confusion of, who's permitted to have what size sign on their property, So if I'm in the residence, I could put a 16 square foot sign on my property. Yeah, I think there's confusion there.
Right.
And this here clearly lays it out that our residential signs are smaller than our commercial.
So can we adopt and then amend, taking in more detail with you and Fern to go back and look at their recommendations and maybe tweak a couple things?
I think the
Move on.
same end result is going to be, as far as republishing, going back to them, no matter what we do. So I would say, do like we're doing with the Hawk Island, adopt it, then just we'll
Yeah.
amend it
But I,
as needed,
Yeah.
I'm seeing the amendment really just for
define what a
the
feather
feather
is.
signs, right?
Yeah,
Putting,
I don't have
during
an issue
business
with
hours
that's
only.
the only, that's the,
the only
yeah,
thing.
that's the
Yeah.
only thing that I thought of, but it's, I'm just one person on this board, so it's
No, it
up to
keeps,
you. It's up to you whether you want to consider that, but I thought that was something we were considering. It was informally.
I'm fine with that, yeah. I would
it
find
brings,
it
it
and
brings the
then
attention
do
to the,
business
to the
hours.
feather sign as far as its life, it's falling apart, someone's gonna be, less prone to go ahead and put it out where
Right.
it's still in good shape.
Yeah, and if it like falls in the middle of the night, nobody's there to pick it up, so,
Does anyone hear it?
sure, business hours.
All right, well, let's, let me open the meeting to the public, get the public's feedback. Open this hearing to the public for ordinance 2024-20. If you have any questions or comments on this ordinance, please approach the podium, give your name and address for the record. Or not. We'll close this hearing of 2024-20 to the public.
Mrs. Lord?
Yes.
So with that one change, having the feather signs during business hours, we still need to go through that whole other process.
Well, they're asking for a definition of feather signs,
Okay, so we need a definition.
and then to regulate the feather signs, that would go back
It looks like.
to the planning board.
Okay,
Tape a little feather on there.
define square signs?
Apparently, we need to define everything.
You know,
I don't think you need to
I
define
don't
it,
think you need to define a
I
feather
mean,
sign.
but,
Kind of common sense, but that's just me.
yeah.
I'd like to see the whole thing get tabled and go back to the planning board and get the conflicts and definitions and the distances all in alignment, and have a clean copy to work with, rather
I'd like
than,
to see them align within themselves before they come to us, because,
Yeah.
they gave that to us in 2021, and now they
It
don't
was
like
a
what they gave us.
disaster, yeah.
I mean, it's just, frankly, they wasted our time on that, because Fern and I think we had 3 meetings, we drove to the town, we spent plenty of time here going through it, but
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2024-20.
Second,
okay, I'm sorry, what was the motion, Mrs.?
To approve the ordinance,
To adopt it
yes?
as is, okay. Second by Mrs. Patrick?
yes.
Okay.
would that be with the correction I read previously?
With the number change, letter change?
Correct.
The letter change is just a
That's just an editorial.
editorial, that's fine.
Bless you.
That's
Yeah.
that's not substantive, no. Yes, you can adopt with just that letter change.
All right, there was a motion by Ms. Seuss, second by Ms. Fitzpatrick. Roll call?
Ms. Fitzpatrick?
Yes,
Mr. Olet?
yes, with the way it is, even though we received recommendations or suggestions from the Joint Land Use Board, the minor change of coming up with the definition and the regulations for the feather sign, we can address that without going back to the joint land use board, or do that at a future time. The temporary signs for commercial and for residential, again, the way we have it separated out, I don't see where that would be, any changes would come back from the joint land use board on that. And then I guess the perpendicular suspended attached signs, the 7-foot, 9-foot definition seems to be fairly clear, the lower part of the sign, the top part of the sign. But then we have this other item of, I think it was 14 feet for, I thought it was a freestanding sign. Again, it's a different type of sign. So my vote is yes.
Ms. Seuss?
Yes.
Mr. Templeton?
No. I'd just like to see a clean copy without a bunch of Band-Aids on it. It is clear and understandable. It's, you know, as has been mentioned, this has taken a couple of years to go through the machinery here, but just nice to have one piece of paper with everything up to snuff on it without continuing ambiguity and built-in conflict. No.
And Mr. Bartlett?
Yes.
Mayor, what was that letter change? It may have been discussed while we were having a technical difficulty with the transmission. We were working on that.
Under section 110-17, too many letters in this thing.
B2.
Under
Is it B2?
C2A, bracketed 5.
C, I found C.
It's on page 6 of the
Yeah, C2 bracketed
5.
5, perpendicular or suspended attached signs.
The code reference to 110-17B2
Yes,
should be 110-17B1,
E1, got it.
which that talks about the sign area, which shall not exceed, wherever it went, 10 square feet.
Thank you very much.
And that was just changed because when they deleted one section, it just shifted everything up.
Okay.
Oh, I would just like to make one more comment. I'd like to thank Fern and Matt for going through this sign ordinance, because believe me, it was a mess.
It was painful.
And I appreciate, I do appreciate what you did, so thank you.
Thank you, Kate. All right, with that being said, we will open the meeting to the public for comments and questions for anything else. If you have any comments or questions, please approach the podium, give your name and address for the record. And there will be another section later on this evening as well. Ms. Stone.
Good evening. Shanika Stone, 40 Swan Court. 40 Swan, yes. I do not represent any organization, club, or committee. That's what I'm supposed to say, right? Okay. So my question is regarding, so we just got our new school board agenda out. It's on the website today. We're
Could
having a
you
meeting.
speak up a
Can you
little
speak into
bit?
the mic? It's-
Yeah.
Like,
Which
pull
one?
towards your, the
Pick
black
one.
one, that one.
So I was looking at the new school board meeting agenda, and I know, and checking the website, and I noticed that we, there haven't been any changes yet regarding the 2 schools down to the 1. And I wanted to know, has there been any communication with the school board regarding crossing guards or crosswalks? Because the agenda says that there's going to be some changes. And I wanted to know, from a safety concern and an environmental concern, with all the students going to one school, is the township prepared for all the children who are going to be converging on the spot, all the parents who are going to be converging on that spot, all the traffic on that street?
She's looking at you, Lieutenant Warren, and I'm going to defer to you, Lieutenant Warren.
A safety officer.
Into the
No,
microphone.
they did not contact us. But we had already known previously that Walnut Street's gonna be closed. We already made changes as far as the crossing guards were concerned. So we already moved the crossing guard that was at, Miss Nancy, that was at Walnut Street and Burlington Avenue. She's now gonna be at Hickory and Cooper to cross the children that are coming from, Wrong Street, as well as that side of town. The crossing guard that was at the entrance to Dunkin' Donuts is now gonna be moved to the entrance to Pearson School. So that the crossing guard that's at Lilac and Burlington Avenue, he will continue to cross the children. They may switch depending on the day, but he'll cross the children across the street, and then she'll cross them across the entrance to the parking lot. So that, because what he was doing was crossing the kids across Burlington Avenue, then running over and crossing them across the entrance. We're not gonna do that anymore. In regards to the traffic pattern, I spoke with the principal and the superintendent last year and gave them a couple of ideas in regards to the overflow for the parking. Obviously, in regards to how the parking lot is structured with entering in it, that's gonna take an architect to fix that part. My suggestion was utilizing all that open space in the front of the school as an overflow that would assist with parking, and also maybe encouraging some of the parents who live closer to have their children possibly be walked to school, here and there. I didn't hear anything back from them until we found out that Water Street was closing.
Is there a deadline? Like, is there a time limit?
No, we're just gonna, for us, we'll make sure that, again, as far as safety is concerned on that street, there's no parking allowed in the shoulder. Officers are out there every morning, I'm sure you've seen them, and they'll enforce accordingly. But as far as on the school parking lot, their property, we have nothing to do with that unless they call us for something specific. But as far as how they're gonna govern that, that's on the school board, and they didn't give us anything. But we gave us recommendations, but, you know, what they're gonna do with it, I have no idea.
And how do we get another crosswalk?
Another
would-
crossing guard?
I mean, like the actual grid on the road.
Where?
So my experience as a parent in this community taking my child to school, I'm constantly coming across a lady who's teaching her little children to jaywalk on this one corner across from the school. So it's like 4 of them, and she does it
Okay.
regularly. So they're always running late, and they're always jaywalking on the street.
Okay.
And so I have asked her to stop, but she told me to mind my business. But that's fine. You
Right.
know, I'm not going to run her or her kids over.
Right.
But I don't want anybody else to either. And I know that it's going to be a lot of traffic. There's going to be a lot of different things going on, a lot of different parents, a lot of different families, and just something new that we're not used to with all of these people converging on this spot. So I was just wondering,
Right.
like, how do you go about getting another crosswalk?
Where,
Well,
where are they jaywalking?
If it's Burlington Avenue, that's
So
the
this is
count.
Burlington
Okay.
Avenue at the, unfortunately, I don't remember the street, but
Magnolia-
there's a beautiful house on the
Magnolia
corner there.
Lane.
Magnolia Lane, and these kids, they're crossing right here, at this street, and she stands on the grass, and they run out, all of them willy-nilly,
Okay.
and everybody's in the car like,
So for Burlington Avenue, that's the county road. That would be the county to do that. For township roads, I would have to say that would be Superintendent for John Fenimore, I would imagine, right? to have that
John
painted?
and Harry would have to.
Yeah, so we could look into that, you know. But even that though, I mean, the one issue, and Susan and I were talking about this earlier, our crossing guards, right now, historically, they've been at Burlington and Edgewood. The next crossing guard spot is not all the way until Lilac. All those streets are in between. When we had the crossing guard at Dunkin' Donuts, we still had the entrance to 7-Eleven. Nobody was there. There's 2 entrances to the BP, the gas station. So it's so hectic as it already was. Now, again, it's going to just be seeing how it goes those first couple of weeks, and then we can tweak it there. But for the police, we'll be out of force as normal. We'll enforce all traffic violations. But to get, parents, like, I'm thankful that she's walking at least, and so are you, but that was what we encourage the school. Like, you have so many people that live so close. I watched people drive off a side street and then stand and sit in their car in line for 20 minutes when they could have walked them over and been going about their day. But that's the right to do so, But again, like you said, though, it's going to be a lot of traffic with this. The school, they ensured, so no, it'll be smooth. So I guess we're going to see. But as far as for safety, no, we will enforce this accordingly. And we'll go from there. Right now, we're still going to only go with the 5 crossing guards And now, if something else changes, we can maybe get some part-time, depending on how things go. But right now, we're gonna go with the 5.
Thank you so much. That's my only question.
But, and to your answer, I'm sorry, I didn't answer you. They did not contact us. No, they did not.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
And on the,
Thank you.
besides reaching out to the police department, unless Mike knows anything as the liaison to the school board, we haven't heard from them on the committee level of anything.
Committee level.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. that's all.
So just to clarify, and maybe so the audience watching can understand, the school board is, well, the superintendent is proposing to eliminate the bus that currently operates the elementary school past Rivers Edge Development, so all those streets up until Beverly, West Avenue, all those streets will now be walking. So I think it's the parents that are going to be concerned about how far these little guys got to walk and may not have crosswalks there or sidewalks. So that's kind of what you were talking to the police department about. And yet, I don't even think that school board members knew until the agenda was posted that this was even being proposed. So it's kind of upsetting and disappointing, and the parents have every right to be upset about it. So hopefully they reach out to you guys and address any concerns.
Sooner rather than later. I know that at the last meeting here, we were discussing traffic, and that there's a lot more traffic with a lot of things going on.
Right,
And,
absolutely.
especially in the morning.
They should consider alternating the times of the, maybe an hour in between or something, that one group stays an hour later, the other group.
But they're saying right now that everybody's gonna start their day at the same time.
I know, yeah.
Yes,
So I
they
mean,
are.
that is just going to be.
So K5
Correct.
Yep,
And
through
6 through 8 are all
7,
starting
or
at the
through
same
8,
time.
rather, excuse me,
Yep.
K through 8.
8
are all gonna start at the same
They're all
time.
going to start at the same time, and
Let's-
that is like going to be horrendous.
It was proposed to do a 15-minute staggered start, but unfortunately, the teachers' union voted no to that, so they don't have a choice.
That's odd, though. I mean, Walnut Street School, their start time was
Same.
7, so, right? Why would they
No,
not, those teachers that were at Walnut Street are now gonna be at Pearson, I would imagine, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And Walnut Street School started earlier than Pearson, right?
I don't believe they
They
did.
didn't?
Yeah, they did. I think they did.
I thought they started, I thought it's a little
Yeah,
earlier,
it
though.
was a little bit.
That's what I'm saying. What
Yeah.
what would be the difference? If they were
15
starting
minutes.
and they didn't, oh, wow.
Hence my concern about all the children and all the parents
the same
converging on
time,
one
right.
spot. And, for those parents who are going to encourage their children to walk, I
Right.
just want to make sure that it's safe. I know that there was some conversations about sidewalks and county roads and different things, but I
Right.
know as a community, right, that our children are absolutely important, and whatever
Right.
we can do and who we need to get in contact with to
Right.
make sure that they
So-
get back and forth safely.
Because nothing, we're gonna have to look at possibly other crosswalks.
There's a bottleneck, it's going to be a bottleneck. in the
It's gonna
parking
be a
lot,
mess.
right? So then
Is
we
it-
worry about
yeah.
traffic in the parking lot, traffic in front of it, right? Our crossing guards being overwhelmed or maybe spoken to in a disrespectful manner.
We're not having that.
Of course not, but
No, we're not having
people are,
that. Yeah, we're not having that.
Making a left out of there, you have to hold your breath.
People making illegal turns, pulling.
Yeah.
And then again, when that happens, we'll be handled accordingly.
Definitely. I
Absolutely.
appreciate that.
Yes,
Thank you
ma'am.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Stone.
you.
And hopefully after they,
Good.
I'm sorry, you were going?
I wanted to ask Basil, should we actually review that when the school opens to see if maybe there should be another crosswalk? up
Absolutely.
Around
Yes, ma'am.
Magnolia and have the county paint
But
paint
I'm
stripes?
thinking, though, not only there now, though, if we're starting now at West Ave,
Yeah.
we may need to revisit
But
more
there's
than one.
not a sidewalk in that one section where the Creekside development is. There's a section there where there's no sidewalk. So if they're going to have another crosswalk, it should be beyond that. So
Yeah, but down-
it's those homes along there. We tried to ask them if we could put a sidewalk in there, and they declined. They didn't want us.
Where at?
It's right on Burlington Avenue, right around the corner from Larchmont. It's between Creekside. There's like 2 homes there. There's one on the corner of Larchmont and one that faces Burlington Avenue on your way to Beverly on the right-hand side.
Okay.
There's no sidewalk there.
Yeah.
So if we do another crosswalk, it should be up further, like maybe at Delview or at Magnolia.
Yeah, there's one right at Teeman Circle.
Yeah, I think there is one at
Yeah,
Teeman.
it needs to be repainted, but there's.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
there's-
yeah, I didn't know, I couldn't see
Yeah.
I think
that.
there's one at Teeman.
Oh, okay.
Right across the street from,
Yeah, because
where
I know
the
there's
other
no
town is.
sidewalk there.
yeah, now.
And there's no sidewalk up further near Joy Mart for that one stretch
Yeah,
between
same thing.
Joy Mart and Princeton.
Yeah.
I think it's disgraceful that they did this 2 weeks before school starts. Haven't notified anybody, haven't had any conversations with the police department, and now everybody's expected to scramble to figure it out to make sure the kids are safe. It's
Yeah.
awful. It's just, it's awful.
As a parent of
Poor management, I'm sorry.
a child who lives half the time with his mom, who's right there in that area that will now not get a bus, and we learn about it in the agenda 2 weeks before school starts, I'm a little annoyed, because now we have to try to scramble to figure out what we're doing, and I know I'm certainly not going to be the only parent who's going to be needing to do that, so
Yeah.
we'll figure it out, but it's crappy.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Stone. Any other comments from the public? And you'll have another opportunity later on as well.
I just want to note that I don't blame the Board of Education for this decision. It came directly from the superintendent and the business administrator.
Oh, no, I love the board members. They're great.
Yeah, they are great.
All right. I'll close this portion of the meeting to the public, and we'll go to comments and reports. Let's see, Township Administrator, Mr. Schwab is off today, so we will go to the department heads. Lieutenant Warren, back to you.
It's fast. All right. First thing, I want to let everyone know that Sergeant Eric Hoffman will officially be retired effectively September 1st.
Sorry, Baz, can you just
Oh,
move that mic?
September 1st, so he's going to be having a retirement dinner in November. Some flowers are put out for that. So he's excited, obviously.
We're sorry to lose him.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. As far as for the PD right now, for this month, to this date, we've had 602 calls for service, 16 motor vehicle violations were issued with 52 motor vehicle stops, 9 total police cases. We have a gentleman on our FTO program, just started his last phase, so he's doing well. If everything goes well, he'll continue and he'll complete that phase the second week of September. So very helpful because we've been needing, obviously, the increase in our staffing. So we're looking forward to him getting off FTO and getting to the shift, into the schedule. Probably I'm getting ahead of myself, but when we get to the agenda for Hawk Island, just want to let you know that as of this date, there were no calls for service to Hawk Island for anything. So thankfully, that's a good thing. Okay. And that's for anything, no complaints of noise, nothing. So we're doing pretty good.
I guess the residents are happy with how everything is out there if they're not calling it.
I believe so. So we'll
That's
take
been all
that.
summer, right? No
All
calls?
summer. We have no
All
calls of
summer,
service
yeah.
all
It's
summer.
amazing.
So,
Must have been a mistake your last meeting then.
yeah. And that's where, Chief said that he had mentioned to them, obviously there's an issue to call us when it's happening, but we've had no calls of service. The guys, when they patrolled the area, there's nothing out there. A couple times there were instances out on the water, and the state police responded, and there was nothing criminal. They allowed people to continue as they were. So I think the only other call in regards to noise was actually at Hawk Island, the marina. And again, when the guys responded there, the people who were supposedly accused of it had already left. But as far as just the interest to Hawk Island, we haven't had anything. So it's a good thing. And you figure we're 2 or 3 weeks from the season being over, so hopefully they'll stay the same and nice and quiet. Other than that, that's all I have for tonight. We're actually pretty light.
I'm disappointed to hear that
I-
summer is over in
We already
3
brought
weeks.
that up.
Disappointing.
I thought we already brought that up. I didn't want to be
The
redundant.
PD park at, no, we can talk about
That wasn't brought up in the last meeting?
No.
You didn't bring it up?
I mean, I have it on, yeah, Carolyn and I were going to probably say something under rec, but yeah, sure.
No,
You
sure,
can
okay.
promote.
Everyone can talk.
So on September 14th, we're going to have a PD night in the park in conjunction with the rec department. Where we'll have food trucks, a Kona ice truck, face painting, a bounce house. That'll go from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. And then there'll be a movie, it's If, being shown. That'll be around 7:15. So if you're available, come on out and have a good time with us.
You're going to be in the bounce house, right?
No.
Put a hole in that
Yeah, he's
thing.
going to be in the water tank.
He's going to the dunk tank.
He's going to be in the water tank.
And then I think you have a police dog coming out too?
Yeah, I forgot about the canine. Yeah, we do have a canine coming out too. So yeah, it'll be pretty cool. Yeah, I think people will enjoy
Yeah,
it.
it's big fun.
Yeah.
Anyone have any other questions or comments?
Sure, Lieutenant. I guess over sometime over the summer, there were some youngsters that were using these faction guns or
Yeah.
air guns.
The Orbeez guns, yes, gel
Uh,
guns.
Where do we, as a township committee, in looking at the guidelines that they put on the packaging on these guns, that adult supervision, and then there's check with your local, warning, check local laws. Do
Well,
we have anything
those are mandatory for consumerism. That there, you notice, it clearly states too that it's by state. So for us, I can only speak for New Jersey, they're not illegal, number one. But number two, more importantly, when they're being used in a manner or fashion that's not deemed appropriate, we charge accordingly. So we had instances this past summer where juveniles were using them and not in the desired way, they were charged accordingly. For us, what happens is, excuse me, when juveniles are charged with a crime, we just prepare the paperwork that gets sent to the county. Everything after that is on a county level for all juvenile instances or complaints. Outside of us doing something to where it's a station house adjustment where we're gonna do something here with them, maybe have them write an essay or come in and maybe help clean up, or a curbside warning. But every time these were used in a manner that wasn't indeed appropriate, criminal charges were pressed on all those juveniles. But as far as what you see on the box, I mean, the same would be with the Nerf gun that has the darts, the styrofoam. Any recommendation on it is just that, a recommendation. We can't tell a parent that they have to make their child follow this because it's a toy sold in every store. And it's funny, we encountered a lot of the kids that were using these, their parents weren't buying them for them. They were buying them on Amazon and having them delivered. Parents had, the kids have accounts, and next thing you know, because a couple times the parents, I didn't even know he had that. And the kid, you know, yeah, well, I got it on Amazon with your card. So, but the weapon itself, it's a toy. They're little gel packs, and you mix them with water, and the gel basically gets absorbed with the water, and now you have the projectile. And that's what they're shooting at each other with. And for the most part, it's actually been decent. If you remember a couple meetings ago, about 30 kids were playing at Pearson Elementary School, and we were advised of it. The issue wasn't the use of the toy guns, that they ran out the street. So we had our officers go out there, and they were playing with them, you know, appropriately, and, you know, it was actually okay. There's been a few that obviously did not, and again, like I said, they were charged accordingly. And the charges actually were aggravated assault, the unlawful use of a weapon, because in the manner that they used it, because we're not going to tolerate that. We then sent out early in the summer through Facebook, and it's letting the parents know, hey, if your children are using this inappropriately, they will be charged. So it's not like they didn't know. You know, we told them, and some act like they were surprised, but you know, we told you and we meant it. You know, we're not going to have kids being hit or abused, you know, because someone thinks they can do it. So,
What is inappropriate use?
shooting at someone that's not playing with them. We had children that weren't even involved being shot at with these things. We had 2 weeks ago, a gentleman walking down by the river shot at. We had a female that was actually shot in the face in Riverside from a moving vehicle. So that's not what their intended purpose was of them, and they were charged accordingly. Yeah, because that's what they've been doing. Where again, if they're all having it's equivalent to having a water gun fight. Instead of just water, though, it's this gel pack. So when they're mutually engaging and having fun, a good time, that's okay. But when you're just walking around shooting at people who are not involved, we're not going to tolerate that. And then they were charged accordingly.
But when that goes to the county never lets us know what the end result is?
No, they'll
Do they
contact
let
you.
you know? Because I know that there were other instances in town where the juveniles were charged with something, and they never let our police department know when the hearing was.
When was
I was
this?
never notified. It was a few years ago. They were doing some things at Gateway Park, and I was told at the time that a lot of times the county just pats them on the wrist and sends them on their way.
Not necessarily true. Yeah, and you got to remember, what was the time frame? Because we're talking coming out of COVID, everything was different because they couldn't do certain things.
Yeah, it was before COVID.
Yeah, then I have no idea because I wasn't there.
Yeah.
I know for me, in my experience, Chief Tilder as well, for certain things, we have contacts there to let us know, especially if it's the severity and nature of it. If it's something that's minor, because again, we still send things there that technically would be minor. They may not, but stuff like this here, no, they absolutely let us know. And we have contacts there that will get back with us, especially with Detective Lippert. They'll contact him.
So if we, as a township committee, wanted to pass an ordinance banning gel blaster guns, obviously, I don't know if that's legal. We'd have to talk to our attorney.
I have no idea. Talk to your attorney.
We'd have to
for
talk
that.
to the attorney
Yeah,
about
I can
that.
tell you.
On at least on township property. I did put it, I had Doug put it in the Hawk Island amendment, ordinance amendment.
Yeah.
Where this has been happening at, it's been the light rail station, Pearson School,
Yeah.
Walnut Street School,
Private property.
you know, people's yards, things of that nature.
Yeah.
One at the BP, I believe,
Yep.
you know, but again, yeah, that would be for your attorneys to give you consultation on that. And then obviously, if that's the case, then we would enforce it.
Sure. I actually had him add very specific language regarding firearms, bows, or the like are not permitted to be used on any township property. No hunting, trapping is permitted. State property shall be blah, blah, blah. No paintball guns or activities permitted. No discharge of weapons or firearms within township property is permitted, including but not limited to air guns, gel blaster guns of any kind, bows, arrows, slingshots, blank guns, or any other weapon that is capable of injuring persons or wildlife. And
Right.
honestly, I think that covers every type of
Yeah,
weapon. So
that's on our,
at least
Yep.
you're not going to have legal gel blasting gun fights.
You can't
Don't-
fix stupid, but you sure.
Not
can
to,
regulate it.
the only thing with that, this is a whole another issue for the five of you. As far as Hawk Island, we still have no idea where property lines end and start, with the exception of entering the island. So for the enforcement of this, it'd be very difficult because we have no idea whose property we're on when we're back there.
We have that letter from our council that says you can enforce anywhere on
you
the
can
island.
enforce anywhere on the island.
Enforce on the island.
But clearly, state property is governed by state rules. That's what it
Well-
says. That's what it says in here. I'm just reading what it says.
I know, but we have a letter and we have rules and regulations that are going to be posted, and we are asking our police department to enforce our rules and regulations out there. Regardless, there's no boundary lines.
How is there no boundary lines? Because state property, for like hunting, for example.
The state is actually indicating that they don't own anything out
The
there,
only thing the state claims to own is
The lake.
the lake.
the lake.
Okay.
So
So
we're in
unless someone's in
control.
the lake or within a few feet of the lake,
All right.
the rest is up for grabs.
So we're going to be, we're going to be governing it.
Do you have that copy of the decision from Doug? I'm sure Adam has it.
It's back in my office, yeah.
Yeah.
The current one, I think where I thought he said that, again, it was checking and seeing what the state rules were.
No, this was a couple months ago.
Yeah, so not, can you give me that then? Can you email that, please? All right.
All right. Thank you, Lieutenant.
Thank you.
Lieutenant, quick question, completely different topic. Personal watercraft. My understanding is there's sunrise to sunset. They can't be on the water after sunset. If someone pulls out of the water, can you or local police cite that person?
If they pull out of the water,
Pull out of the water at a boat ramp at Hawk Island Marina, if they pull out after sunset.
I'm not familiar with that law, sir, so honestly, I can't answer that. I don't know.
But is that enforceable by local municipal law enforcement?
This
Or
is-
is
this
that a
is-
marine police?
What we would do, we would defer to them. So hypothetically, if that happened, what I've done in the past, I would contact the Marine Police there in Brighton, Burlington, have them respond out, and then I would defer to them while we're there and get guidance from them. And that's worked in the past.
Yeah.
Just because the whole thing would be, obviously, how often are we encountering that?
Yeah.
So on the error side of caution, I always go and call them and say,
I
hey.
just,
where we
hear
at?
a lot of jet skis and so forth late at night, and they seem to be down at the end of Hawk Island and so forth. And if anyone's, coming out, pulling out at, over at, in Delran or pulling out at Hawk Island.
See, the issue with
That would
that, though,
seem
would
to
be
be-
hard for us to enforce that because obviously I can't get out in that water to get
No,
them
no, no,
back.
but if they're trailering, you know, they
Oh,
gotta
coming
come out of
in.
the water sometime.
Yeah, I mean, I would check in, I would follow up with you, and I'll let you know, because honestly, I'm not sure, so I'll
But
follow
the
up with
Marine
you.
Police, are they still functioning? I mean, did they get their funding cut? Because I really haven't seen them at all this
You're
year.
asking the wrong person, because I don't work for state police.
The Marine Police.
That's
Yeah,
state
they're
police.
not out
Yeah,
as- They're
the
not
state
out as
police.
often.
I don't
They were
know.
out last Saturday, I saw them on the water.
Yeah, they aren't out as often, though. I hardly ever see them
Well,
on
they
the.
have to do
Yeah.
the whole river area.
But I'm saying, like, but for me
They
though,
have to do
I
the
would have no
rain focus,
idea,
too.
like, how often they're patrolling,
Right.
how many boats they have on the water. I have, like, no idea. I do know recently, in so many incidents, the sandbar that's between, like, Oakford and
Yes.
Center, some young boaters got caught up on that, and
Yeah, we were out
state police did come out for, you were out there, right? for
Yeah,
that?
in the lightning storm.
There you go. So they're there, but again, how often they're patrolling, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay.
don't know.
It just seems a lot less than in years past.
But you obviously, I mean, you're there, you're seeing more than me, being on the river, so.
Okay.
I could check though, and get back to you.
I
A
see
lot
jets-
of them don't put in our area. They put in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I see jet skis go, you and I have the same view of the river for
Yeah.
the most part, and I see them
Yeah, I
11,
have,
12 o'clock at night. jet
I have them
skiing out
on
there.
Really?
the Rain Cocos
Okay.
too. I have them there all
I
the
was
time.
never aware there was any timeframes.
Yeah, see, honestly,
They don't
I didn't know the
have
time
lights.
frame.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They
They don't have any lights. They,
Wouldn't
so
catch
they
me
shouldn't
doing
be
that.
on the water.
Okay.
All righty.
Thank you.
Let's see, Mr. Fenimore is not here tonight. Mrs. Lore.
Yes, just, excuse me, reminding everyone that the next meeting will be September 9th, which is the second Monday, because the first Monday of September, September 2nd, is Labor Day. And that's all I have, thank you.
Thank you, Janice. Township Committee, I'll start with my far left. Ms. Fitzpatrick.
Oh, thank you. Let's see. Have a lot of things here. Del Riv, they had a great meeting in July. The full board was present, and I have to tell you, it's impressive to see the work that they do as a cohesive group for the benefit of our youth. The president, Saber Rice, has been certified through Rutgers to teach the safety course for coaches. All coaches will be required to have the training, and it will not only benefit them as a coach, but also as a mentor and also dealing with parents. Tryouts, we're continuing for the travel softball team, but they may be done now. Are they done? Riverdale Rebels is their name. I think that's really cute. Fall soccer registration was open until August 9th. Registration is ongoing for basketball for 2024-2025. The theme this year is Disney. T-ball had a World Series, and the kids had a great time with water balloons and sprinklers. They had lots of treats and received medals. The coaches versus coaches game was enjoyed by those who were brave enough to weather the rainstorm. That was a muddy mess. They are planning a fundraiser, kickball, on September 15th at 11 a.m. at Walmsley, with lots of activities and goodies. They also hope to raise some funds with a night out at Chick-fil-A. So if you want to know what's happening, check out their weekly newsletter. They're very informative. They're doing a great job, and their next meeting is August 27th here. Backyard hens, we have another resident and is in the process of being approved. I understand she's been approved now, another resident. So now we have 5 residents that have backyard hens. I attended the OEM meeting on July 29th. Rob and Matt reported on the damages and assessments with photos of the storms for January, June, and July. Sarah Johnson, a coordinator with the National Weather Bureau located in West Hampton, explained conditions and preparedness for upcoming tropical storms and hurricanes. And it would be nice if OEM could send out some kind of an email blast to residents on what they should do to be prepared in the event of a hurricane. Recreation, we met on August 7th. Usage of the field was discussed and dates requested by Del Riv were approved. Recreation will be hosting a movie night after the meet and greet with the police department on September 14th. So they are having food trucks instead of a cookout this year. And Updates on the ongoing project that we have going on in town. Carolyn provided updates on them, and she may give you some information on that. Cleanup Day for Hawk Island is scheduled for Sunday, September 29th. Flyers and information will be distributed. 200 Ash Street, we met on August the 11th with members of Recreation, Carolyn, and our planner, Scott Taylor, to brainstorm on the plan for the park, since we need to have a plan to submit to DEP prior to the approval for the cleanup. This will be an incredible park for all of Delanco to enjoy. I think it's not as big as the Field of Dreams, but the purpose it will be a lot different. It's going to be really nice. And if you're looking puzzled, that's where the Fisher Canvas building was, on the Rancocas Creek. Sewer Authority met on August 13th. The trunk line project, the line portion is complete. We're waiting for DEP to close out the project. There's a slight delay with work at the pump station. They're still working on the bypass system. Nothing new to report on Stylex and 989 Coopertown Road. 401 Creek Road, they currently have a septic system, and we cannot obligate them to connect to our system. So we're monitoring that process and checking with the Joint Land Use Board's engineer to make sure they're in compliance. There was a dumpster fire next to the drying beds at the plant, and it was noticed by a jet skier. So there is a benefit to a jet skier, I guess. No real damage. Discussions are underway regarding raising the tanks at the plant due to flooding, and the operator's report is on file. FOD maintenance, Field of Dreams. We met on the field on the 15th, and I must say they're in pretty good shape right now. There are issues that the key players will be working out. Jim McHugh is to connect with John, Bob, and Ken to report issues and/or problems. Bob Crabtree is going to take care of turf issues, and Ken irrigation. It was determined that prevention is better than dealing with issues after the fact, so our budget will be reviewed in November to see if there will be funds available to deal with some of the prevention methods suggested by Jim McHugh. Hawk Island. Met with Carolyn and Janice. We reviewed the ordinance, made some additional changes that Carolyn submitted to our solicitor, and we also reviewed the items for the signage, and we have prepared a rough draft that I forwarded to Adam today for his input. History Board, I attended the open house Saturday here. There were approximately 7 or 8 visitors, in addition to the board members and township committee members that were present, so probably around 16 people. In addition to my grandfather's photos and decoy displays out in the lobby, I brought a few books regarding the watermen in Delanco, as well as along the Delaware River. Gene Miller, who grew up in Delanco, was here selling his book, Short Stories for Middle School Boys Only, because girls have cooties. So some of his classmates were here to purchase the book. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. And on your mention of OEM sending out something regarding the hurricane, I was actually just communicating with Mr. Reuter earlier today about doing that same exact thing.
Oh, good. Because I think that would really be beneficial if we had a checklist of items that we should have prepared, because you never know.
Yeah, we have a few things that come from FEMA on that, and some other stuff that we have together, and that should be out in the next few days.
Good. Thank you.
Thank
You guys
you,
do
Kate.
share your OEM stuff on Facebook too, right?
Yeah, the Delanco Office of Emergency Management, there's a Facebook page on that. We also send out alerts via, whatever that's called. What do we use?
Civic Ready?
Yeah, thank
Civic
you.
Ready, yeah.
I appreciate it. It's been a long week. My brain is still down in Bermuda.
I don't think it just started.
All right. Good. Yes, it is. Okay, to my far right, Mr. Templeton.
Good evening.
You-
Let's see, Environmental Advisory Board. We had a meeting behind some shovels and rakes 2 Sundays ago, and dug out where a pad's going to be for a bench on the connector path to the Pennington Trail coming off of Newton's Landing Boulevard. So I was out there today seeing how it settled with the rain, and added some more material and tamped that down. So hopefully sometime this week, Public Works and I will take a road trip up the road and get the concrete pads to put out there, and hopefully by the end of the week, we'll have a bench installed there. And then hopefully sometime later, some trees to give it some shade. Shade Tree Commission had a meeting back on July 31st, got a lot accomplished. I think there were 10 items that were taken care of, and an updated list was circulated to Public Works and to the principal officials in the township. Let's see, I did attend the Sewage Authority meeting, but met with the DSA engineer and the consulting engineer afterwards. 2 months ago, I had a webinar with the Corps of Engineers that was organized by Congressman Andy Kim's office, and just wanted to apprise them of the Corps' interest or ability to fund a project or different funding programs to look at the region as far as water treatment facilities, sewage authorities, and so forth. There's probably a half dozen or more, or a lot more, 10 or 12 or so, along this stretch of the Delaware River that were all susceptible to the same flooding issues and storm issues. And as far as the Corps doing a joint or a regional study of that. But anyway, I planted that seed and see where that goes with the Weller brothers. Let's see, there was a webinar today, DEP, on public access initiatives. DEP's on this initiative right now to increase the public access across the state to tidal waters. Obviously, that affects the Jersey Shore towns, but our part of the Delaware and the Rancocas is obviously tidal. So it was mostly a listening session from our end. I think some other committee members were on the webinar as well. The thing that's a little concerning is that any permit that has anything to do with waterfront development triggers a review by DEP of a community's public access plan, if you have one or you need one. And they would look at how much public access that your community provides to the waterfront, whether it's direct physical access or visual access, and evaluate as far as the permit approval, whether you should be required to provide more. That would be either improvements on other access points, provide parking for those access points, or restrooms for those access points. So just from, dealing with some of that for my time on committee, I think Delanco's in a very good position. Access to the waterways and the scout benches along Delaware Avenue and the park improvements and the Pennington Trail that went in a couple of years ago. So, but it's just another layer of bureaucracy. We're coming off of the Zerberg seawall project, and a long time we dealt with that, getting a permit approval, and it was just a big sigh on my part hearing that, oh, this is another box that DEP wants us to check. So the other thing that DEP is rolling out is another set of regulations that resilient environments and landscapes. And it affects coastal zone management, which is really the shoreline, Jersey Shore, freshwater wetlands, stormwater management, Flood Hazard Area Control Act, and so forth. Looking through it, I don't think there's any immediate local impact there, but again, it's another set of rules and regulations that are trying to adjust building codes and buffer zones for potential areas that are potentially vulnerable to flooding in a time going forward of climate change, that we're getting heavier rainfall amounts, we're getting higher high tides and so forth. And lastly, has been mentioned previously, the Board of Education agenda for this coming Wednesday hit the internet this afternoon, and obviously some things that have caught some in the community's attention and hopefully will catch a lot of people's attention. Their meeting is this Wednesday night. Work session begins at 6, board meeting at 7. the buses, bus availability or the walking for students to Pearson School, and the position of the school librarian has been terminated. For whatever reason, is not given, and apparently that's a surprise to, unfortunately, too many people right now. So I'd encourage a turnout Wednesday night and ask some questions. I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Fern?
The history board, this past Sunday or Saturday, we had our open house here. It's a nice turnout and a good interaction with folks, and again, learning a little bit more about the history of our town and the town of Beverly, or the city of Beverly. Our next open house, which would take place on, let's see, September 21st, Saturday, is also our townwide yard sale, I believe?
No.
No? Oh, 28th, townwide yard sale? Okay, so we'll be here then, on that
Yeah.
date, on the 21st, and then we should be out at the townwide yard sale also.
And Babe Ruth Day is the
Babe Ruth Day is
7.
the 7th.
7th, okay.
The 7th, and that's from 10 a.m. to, or I have from 10 a.m. to 2, over at the Babe Ruth Field, and should have a good time
Until the players get tired.
until the players get tired. And let's see, Mike talked about the webcast today, and I think on that, I'll leave things alone.
All right, thank you, Fern. Ms. Seuss?
Thank you, Mayor. Hold on, my microphone. On July 25th, I attended the Historic Waterfront Park Zoom meeting with Scott Taylor, our engineer Harry, Richard, and Janice to go over the plans more in detail and discuss the fence guardrail that is needed. It was more of like a detailed conversation about what exactly needs to happen, and went over the plans more in detail. We're going to have the contractor actually pour the foundation for the gazebo in concrete instead of doing pilings. He's going to do a what's called a monolithic pour, so we don't need any pile driving footings there. The concrete will be footings. So it was a good meeting. We determined just some detailed stuff that we needed to go over. July 29th, I also attended the OEM meeting. It was my first one. It was very informative. I appreciated that the National Weather Service was there to give us a presentation. July 30th, I met with Lieutenant Warren and Eric Rogers to discuss their community event that's on September 14th. We came up with great ideas. It's going to be an awesome event. And then, of course, following that, we have our family movie night. It's an animated movie for the kids. It's the movie Up. Starts at 7:15, should be over about 9:30, and we will be giving out free popcorn. Later that evening, I attended the Public Works Subcommittee meeting to finalize the changes to the department and discuss ongoing public works matters. August 6th, Joint Land Use Board meeting. The application for 401 Creek was postponed at the request of the Criterion's attorney to review our professionals' recommendations. They needed more time. There was a packed house here from residents at Newton's Landing to address some of their concerns. They were not happy that the meeting was postponed, but they did leave eventually, and we told them it would be continued and we would let them know when that date was. I'm not sure if it's going to be September, October, we don't know yet. No rescheduled date. The board did review the sign ordinance. Obviously, they gave us the recommendations that we went over. Saturday, August 10th, my husband Al and I hiked through Hawk Island. There we go. We spent about 2 hours out there in the middle of the day to observe the activity and note the conditions. We only encountered one family having a picnic at the lake and another gentleman that was biking. There was a lot of activity on the water that included boats and wave runners anchored at the beach. There was swimming, grilling, and people just hanging out, playing music. We did see the state police boat out on the water in the channel area, and they had one boat stopped that they were inspecting.
We did observe a decent amount of trash along the beach. Some of it looks like it's just normal trash that washes up on a daily basis from the river. Some did look like it may have been from the boaters. I did notice that Public Works installed 5 or so trash cans, and they've been placed strategically along the trail from the start all the way down to the point. Some trash was observed in the cans. I couldn't also help but notice how many mature trees have fallen recently due to the storms. I know Public Works cleared about 25 or so that were actually on the path out there, so great job to them for getting them cleared so quickly. Later that week, Kate and I met with Janice to go over the ordinance, and we designed the signage that we'll be putting up along the different areas. We will have signs in 3 different languages, English, Portuguese, and Spanish. And there's going to be different signs throughout. We'll have some signs that are targeted more towards the boaters, some signs at the lake specifically to target the lake issues. So Kate sent a draft over the weekend, and as she mentioned, we'll be sending it to the chief for his review. So thank you, Kate, for getting that done so quickly. August 11th, I met with Kate, Scott, Phil, Al, and Steve Lohr at the park design for 200 Ash. We'll be putting that together in the coming days. Obviously, it's time sensitive. August 16th, I had the honor this past Friday of performing my first wedding ceremony in the absence of Mayor Bartlett, who is enjoying some time away in Bermuda before the hurricane. They were a lovely couple, and I wish them all the best in their new chapter in their lives. Later in the day, I did help Al install the park plan sign at Waterfront Park, and by assisted, I mean I supervised. Thanks to Al for his hard work getting that up, and for the community to see how awesome it is. It's going to be fabulous. That's it.
All right. Thank you, Carolyn.
Welcome.
And that's my turn now, okay. Just making sure I don't want to skip over anyone. Let's see, I have continued to do my daily visits over at the seawall construction site, just to take a look and see how it's coming and monitoring the progress, and it's looking great. The entire concrete cap is now on, and it looks like they're starting to clean things up there, which I'm just so happy to see. It took a long time to get to this point, but I'm glad we're there. Attended the Fire Commission meeting on July 23rd, normal business. As the others have mentioned, we had the OEM meeting on July 29th, and Sarah Johnson from the Weather Service was out there and talking about all the storms that we're going to expect to see this hurricane season. We're already up to Hurricane Ernesto, so hopefully we don't get to Hurricane Zulu, because we don't want to have that many, but we'll deal with it. We had our Public Works Subcommittee meeting. Mr. Schwab, Mr. Fenimore, and Carolyn, that was on July 30th, to discuss some new roles and reorganization of the Public Works organization as it relates to our buildings, grounds, and facilities maintenance, which we're all very excited for. And later that evening, I attended our Library Subcommittee meeting with Mike to work on the agreement with the Board of Ed for the library. August 8th, I attended a Zoom meeting with PSE&G, Mr. Schwab, and Harry Fox, our engineer, to discuss some upcoming gas main replacement work that's going to be getting completed in town later this year and early next year. We're working to coordinate with them since we also have some street repaving work that's going to get done in the same areas, so we want to make sure the gas main work gets done before we repave it, obviously. Finally, this past Friday, I wrote a detailed email to the Shade Tree Commission after reading some meeting minutes. Was it forwarded to the committee?
I didn't get it.
I printed it out just so you guys have it. I copied Mike on it as the liaison to the Shade Tree. But,
Thank you.
it was in particular in regards to a tree on Buttonwood Street that during the storm on July 15th, I responded out to the fire department. It had a huge limb collapse blocking the entire road, and reading the minutes, I learned that the Shade Tree Commission has been keeping an eye on it since January of last year, 2023, and found no issues with it. And finally, a week later after the storm, they determined that there was an undiscovered weak fork in the tree. And my concern is, what about all the other undiscovered issues with these trees that they deny removing, since clearly after 18 months and multiple visits between their expert and the commission members, nobody found any issues warranting removal, even though the resident kept on asking for removal due to limbs that kept on falling. And really this looks like they're looking at and saying, looks good, and without any data behind that. So with all due respect to the Shade Tree Commission members, it seems they're more concerned about saving the tree than protecting the property and safety of the resident. That tree had blocked the entire roadway for close to 18 hours. It was a huge tree. It landed where cars normally park, and thankfully by the graces of God and the insurance companies, that the cars weren't there. It was wrapped up in wires and whatnot. And Mike, you mentioned that the Shade Tree Commission met on the 31st. Do you know if that was approved to get removed, that tree?
Yes.
It was? Okay. I talked to John on Friday, and he hasn't heard anything about it yet. There was...
I think it was actually, let me pull that up again. I don't have my log of what the result was.
Yeah, because the last
It was on the
minutes...
agenda.
Yeah, the last minutes that Bev got was from June. We didn't get the July ones yet. And when I spoke to John Friday, he heard nothing about this. I know Kevin's...
It was a high priority for trim.
Yeah, Kevin's review letter said it was a high priority for trim.
Let me find that.
Because Kevin had it as a high priority for removal on his review letter that he gave to the Shade Tree Commission. And I wasn't aware that after Kevin's letter, the meeting met. In my email, I referenced that the meeting was on the 24th, but I guess the date changed to the 31st.
Did you get copies of the shade tree reports?
Yeah.
I know we asked for that a
can't tell
while
you how
ago.
many times I've asked for a copy of that report as a member of the Township Committee, and we don't get it. I really would like to see that report, so we know what's going on. Yeah.
Because there's another limb that's ready to come down on that tree right now, right over the sidewalk. So the Shade Tree Commission could kindly let Mr. Fenimore know, or someone in his organization, that would be great.
Yeah, the last one I've got is trim, not removal. And that was listed as a high priority, June 30th.
Yeah, and then after that, on the Kevin's review letter, where did I put there?
The 26th.
Yeah, July 26th, his review letter said to remove the tree as a high priority.
All right.
And the month beforehand, he said just trim it.
Are there street wires in there?
There was just a
Yeah.
service wire to the house, which was right next to it.
Yeah, you're right.
It's like right here, it kind of goes down to the pole, and the large branches are kind of like wrapped next to it.
So it's not something public service has to do to remove?
This is
No, that was
the,
removed, no, not to cut the tree down, or
Cut
trim
tree,
anymore,
cut.
only when it
this
fell
is
onto
the
it.
end of Buttonwood, right? Yeah.
Thankfully, it didn't disconnect the service, but yeah, fire department was out there for a
Does this
couple
go
hours,
through? No.
Public Works was.
Because of this tree, I
huge
can't
mess
tell.
that could
Does
have
this
been,
continue?
addressed beforehand, so.
No, you're right. Mr. Sebelia did recommend on
It's on the
his
list, I'm sure.
July 26th report for removals. But as far as the undiscovered, weak spot, I mean, all the surveys are done at ground level. There's, the arborist doesn't do any climbing. And he's very thorough, and, all the board members will get the list of trees on the agenda and visit those locations in the preceding week and so forth. But, as far as if you want to, budget those resources for more in-depth surveys of trees in town, I mean, you're talking of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of trees that are township, and as far as, we've got that tree ordinance we have to consider that does extend some degree of township control to trees on private property that the state wants us to adopt. Not as far as health and maintenance and so forth, but if you wish to remove a tree, you have an obligation or a state requirement to replace X number of trees depending on the size of the tree that was taken out. We have not addressed that as yet. But it's probably the most difficult volunteer job in the town on the Shade Tree Commission. And it's difficult because you're working crossways. You're trying to maintain a tree canopy that does provide protection to homes, but there is a risk side that for trees that do age out and are damaged. We had a bit of a drought this summer. Trees have been stressed. We're having hotter summers, longer hot seasons, so trees are getting stressed, and there is, subtle weaknesses that are developing that are, unless you're, starting to core a tree, are going to be difficult to detect. I mean, it had the tree down at on Delaware Avenue in the July storm. I mean, that was a perfectly healthy tree that completely twisted and corkscrewed itself and came down. So it's really, it's extremely difficult. We've got volunteers that take their volunteer position seriously on the shade tree, and it's an expensive job to take trees down, as we all know, seeing the bills and so forth. We've allocated more funding to shade tree and more funding to tree removals, and we've also got a significant state grant to replace trees. So it's definitely a push-pull situation.
That wasn't to
I think
replace them.
the difference between the
That
one
wasn't to replace them.
that we're referring to on Delaware and Walnut, one that literally twisted in that storm, and this one, there was no evidence of any issue with that beforehand, but with this particular one, the resident's been asking for 18 months, please remove it, there are tree branches.
Well, it was never removal. He had asked for the trimmed branches that were overhanging the house or touching the house.
Oh, he's asked for
Yeah,
removal.
he's asked for removal
He's
according to all
asked
their
for
minutes.
removal.
Well, the judgment of the Shade Tree Commission, judgment of the arborist was it's a healthy tree. We're not just going to,
Well, you can tell by looking at these pictures that it's not very healthy,
that's
because the
then after
limbs
the
are
fact.
down and I mean, you could just look at
Yeah,
that. That's a rotted tree.
Yeah,
I
January
mean,
25th.
my eyes can tell you
Last
that.
year, they requested a removal. Kevin said it didn't need removal. July of '23, he again requested a removal. They said it was, so it wasn't just requesting a trim, it was requesting a removal, and they agreed to trim it.
Yes.
But then the last time in June, when they requested removal, they said, trim it, and then 2 weeks later, kaboom.
Yeah.
So, and now they're saying, yeah, guess we need to remove it. So, yeah, I agree, the Shade Tree Commission has it's a very
It's a tough
difficult
job.
job, but
It is.
but some of them, when you're seeing this many requests, you might want to look at it a little bit closer. I'm not saying all of them, but some of them, when you
Yeah.
keep on losing
When you have branches
large
like
limbs.
this.
I mean, the July meeting, there were, I think, 10 items on the agenda, and I think the committee, or the commission voted to have eight trees removed. I mean,
Not good that they're removing them, but good that they're doing something that needs to be done.
yeah,
Yeah.
so they're very proactive.
But, like I said, I sent the email to them. Hopefully, they'll respond, as I asked what corrective actions they could do to make sure that we're not going to be having these issues again. So we'll see if we get a reply. And no, that's all I got. A little abbreviated report from me. I was out of the country for a week, so but happy to be back and continue moving things forward.
Can I give my project management update?
Sure.
Okay, thanks. Out at the Field of Dreams, we have a sewage ejection system that the bathrooms utilize. So when you flush the toilet, it goes into a holding tank, it goes to a grinding pump, grinds everything out, shoots it into a 2-inch line that goes out to the street to the sewer. More than you wanted to know. However, when they installed the fence with their auger across the road, apparently is where the sewer line goes down to the street. Oops, they hit it. The light went off at the concession stand. If for emergencies, call the non-emergency number, the red light's flashing. Well, guess what? Nobody in the township knows what that's for, but we figured it out. The sewer pump had issues. So they went out, the pump was fine. They disconnected everything was good. Well, today, John called me and there's a sinkhole where the fence post was installed because the sewage had been leaking. So they are going out tomorrow morning to fix that. I think we were gonna have bathrooms and like porta potties installed in the meantime. Are they still coming? 2 of them are out there? Okay. So that the bathrooms can be utilized. So, because it's a private system, like we couldn't call one call to do any markings, but Harry said he did put some kind of marking out there, but lo and behold, it's 3 feet down. They had a very slim chance of hitting it, and they did, and they should play the lottery. So that's going to be fixed tomorrow. It's just a 2-inch line of PVC, so not a big deal. The seawall, you mentioned the concrete cap is complete. I spoke with Harry today, asked him where the estimate was for the fascia board and for the fence from our contractor. He sent me the fascia board estimate. It's, I think, 12-inch fascia board. Let me see here. And we can pick the color, so it looks like that. It's just like big, kind of like decking boards.
Yes, nice, yeah.
So that would be installed on the interior part of the seawall under the cap to basically cover the spaces, the indentations.
That's-
Yeah, so you don't have like stuff built
Yeah,
up
that's
there,
attractive.
like bees nests, and this way it covers it up and doesn't make it look as industrial or commercialized. So that estimate for labor and materials is only $9,500, believe it or
Oh,
not.
wow.
So that's within our, we're still within
Yeah.
our budget.
My house would do that.
Yeah, so that's the estimate for that fascia board, and then we're still waiting on the estimate. I think he's waiting on his manufacturer to get him the estimate for the customized fence, because it's only a 19-inch rail,
Yeah.
most of it, over where the 45 is, where the metal fence, the metal seawall is, that's gonna be a little higher, just because of elevation. So we're supposed to get that to Harry tonight, we'll see if he does, but it should be under the 20% threshold, so there's no issues there, we don't need to do anything. I think that's it. Oh, they did install, at Babe Ruth Field, they did install the water valve out there, so now we have water access at the Babe Ruth Field to hook up a fence, to spray it down, to water any trees. So that was fixed, and we're good to go.
Alrighty, on to the consent agenda. Consent agenda items are considered to be routine and will be enacted with a single motion. Any item requiring discussion will be removed from the consent agenda. All consent agenda items will be reflected in full in the minutes. Does anyone have any questions on anything on the consent agenda or need anything pulled?
I need a clarification on one business license for, I guess, the service station up there at West Ave and Burlington Ave. I'm not sure if their operating hours are from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. And then Saturday it just says from 8 a.m. to whatever.
Machado, talking about?
Yeah, Machado is
No, you
on,
said-
no, that's,
Saturday, 8 a.m. to,
They're like 6.
looks like something got cut off.
it's the
on this
first,
copy.
yeah, you can't read it.
What'd you say, Bess?
Was it 6?
6?
Could be wrong. Maybe think that they're Ratty or shop the other one.
It says 8 a.m. to 7.
7.
Saturday, 8 to 7. It says 8 a.m. to 7, Saturday, 8
Saturday.
a.m. to 7.
7.
So
That's what it
7 on
says,
Saturday?
7. That's a 7 right here. See it?
700? Is that what
Yeah.
that is?
No, that's not on mine.
Not on yours?
This is- No, that's 8 a.m. to 0.
I think it says 7. It has that line through it.
Oh, there's a T.
Really?
Yeah.
This
Like-
is
like
a
the one
T.
above.
This is a T, but this is 707.
It says
Right.
4 p.m.
And
on
then
their
this
Google
one,
listing.
2, 0.
What's this? It doesn't really?
It says 4 p.m. on their Google listing.
This one, yeah, this one is Saturday. 8
They close sometime.
4 o'clock, we'll go with 4 o'clock. Google says 4.
on Saturday,
Google says
right
4.
here. That's
There
a
you go,
4.
that's a 4.
That's a 4.
There you
Okay.
go, that's a 4.
That's a
Mystery
4.
solved.
There we go.
right.
It's a
Thank you,
4.
So 8 a.m. to 4
4
p.m.
p.m. They're both 4s. I thought it was 7.
I think outside the box.
I think
Oh,
that's,
okay.
see, I think that's.
It's getting late.
A little bit.
That's 700, okay.
Remember that common sense that you're talking about?
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah. Like,
That's T. You're saying 2 there, 0, and the rest got cut off. Like the
Okay.
AM got cut off.
I'm not.
All right.
They're going to close sometime.
There- That was the only clarification I needed.
All right. I will read them then. Okay, ordinance 2024-21, an ordinance to amend an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the Township of Delanco providing for and determining the rate of compensation of officers and employees, to amend the current year's rates for certain positions, first reading by title only, and set public hearing date for September 9th, 2024. Ordinance 2024-22, amending the Township Code at Chapter 193 governing Hawk Island, First reading by title only and set public hearing date for September 9th, 2024. Ordinance 2024-23, amending chapters 295-4.5 and 35 governing permit parking areas in the vicinity of Hawk Island. First reading by title only and set public hearing date for, guess when? September 9th, 2024. Going to be a busy night. Resolution 2024-118, authorizing change order number 1 and final for accessible curb ramp project. Resolution 2024-119, resolution pursuant to Chapter 216-5.1G, permitting commercial use of food truck vendors for the upcoming police-sponsored event at the Delanco Field of Dreams. Resolution 2024-120, specifying the salaries of certain employees within Delanco Township. Resolution 2024-121, resolution to refund tax overpayment due to total veteran exemption pursuant to NJSA 54:4-3.30A. Payment of bills, current fund, $729,493.01. Payroll, $116,815.07. Capital fund, $6,559. Escrow trust, $495. Housing trust, $8,615.50. Approval of the use of Gateway Park for October 26, 2024, Delanco Women's Civic Club 5K Run. Approval of business licenses, 2024-23, -32, and -41. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda, please?
Mayor, just for
Janice.
clarification, on those 3 ordinances, 21, 22, and 23,
7 p.m.
7 p.m. for those meetings.
Got it.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Carolyn, second by Kate. Roll call, please.
Ms. Fitzpatrick?
Yes.
Mr. Rolette?
Yes.
Ms. Seuss?
Yes,
Mr. Templeton?
Yes.
Mr. Bartlett?
Yes. Correspondence, Janice.
I have none, thank you.
Thank you. All right, meeting is now open to the public, session number 2. If you have any comments or questions, same as before, step up, name and address for the record. Meeting's now open to the public.
where's Ray?
Where's your partner in crime? Where's Ray? You haven't seen him? Okay. Even everyone is bad. You want to come up? Come up, Shamika.
Shamika Stone, 40 Swan Court. I had a question. I was looking for clarification. What is the Rossi list?
What is the
Rossi list.
recreation and open space, what's the I?
Inventory.
Inventory, thank you, Mike. That is a list with the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, the DEP, the Green Acres Program. Any properties on the Rossi list, they're parkland, they are restricted from any sort of development. That's the For Dummies version of what that is.
Thank you so much. That's-
Yeah, they're protected
But-
by the Green Acres
right.
regulations of the state.
And they are open
Yep.
to the public.
that's it. Thank you so much. I know we've been talking a lot. I hear a lot about, oh, is it on the Rossi list? And what is the Rossi list? I wasn't sure if I was misspelling it, because I'm pretty good with the Google.
Nothing to do with Shirley Rossi or anything like that, no.
Because I'm like, Shirley's making all the money here.
Yeah. She does own a lot of properties in town, but not our parks.
That's fine.
Thank you, Shamika. Anybody else? Going once, going twice? All right, we will close this comment and question session. Discussion items, proposed ordinance, amending Chapter 110, Section 10, governing conditional uses. Last time we talked about that, we put it off till tonight. We're going to put it off again because we have to meet with code enforcement and discuss something under that.
Which is next week.
Yeah, next Thursday, we're meeting with Ed on that. And that was in regards to the vehicle parking, commercial vehicle
Commercial
parking.
vehicle.
Commercial vehicle parking, what we talked about
So we should put
previously.
something on by the 9th.
Yeah, September 9th, carry that to Janice, please. And let's see, I don't
Well,
think, yep,
I highlighted one piece of there, dealing with home occupation in any zoning district, where it says one person, not a resident of the building, may be employed on the premises at any time. And I'd be looking to change that to 2 people. But I guess we can have a discussion about that.
Just send us an email, I guess.
Yeah, please.
So we
Yeah,
can
send an
remember.
email, we'll talk to Ed about that.
Okay.
Because I won't remember. Let's be honest.
I know, I can write it down.
All right, and I don't think we need a resolution for executive session, unless anybody wants to stay late for some reason.
No.
Okay,
No.
then I will.
Just food for thought for this, trying to get a handle on the vehicle constraints,
For the Hawk Island or the conditional use?
the conditional uses. I know we had a little bit of a discussion on the weight and the gross volume weight restriction number, and I would just suggest that we use like a national standard classification for what vehicles are allowed.
You have a chart with pretty colors, it looks like.
Yeah, it's got different classes, appropriate weight restrictions, and kind of a silhouette of a representative style of vehicle.
Can you forward that to me?
I mean, yeah.
That'd be great.
Email.
You know, in a town where we have a lot of residents that, you know, their work is their truck out front, and oftentimes they have their name on their side of their truck, that, you know, we should be amenable and agreeable to allow that. And in some cases, whether it's an unusual vehicle or something that's a little bigger, maybe that needs to be tied to a lot size or something, just something to consider. So just tossing that out.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Appreciate
gonna
it.
be difficult.
All right, with that being said, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
Second?
Carolyn and Kate, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Have a good night, everybody.
Yeah.